All right. So today I'm joined with Moeed. He's a GTM automation expert. GTM means go to market, and I'm going to ask Moeed about what that means also. He might be able to provide a better answer and description of what that is. But my understanding of GTM is it's how you find prospects, how you reach them, qualify them, and turn them into real opportunities. So Moeed, I'm going to turn it to you. Let me know like how GTM automation experts work and what that means to you.
So I think you've pretty much described what it does, but in my opinion, what a GTM engineer does is it's a bit different from sales roles. Typical salespeople are just getting out there, busting in numbers, and absolutely looking to close the deals. Whereas an engineer has to do the product market fit, analyze the market, test it quickly, automate a lot of manual work, and see where it can help the actual closers. So this is how GTM workers operate, and this is what we'll talk about today.
Okay. There's a video that you just recorded that talks about one specific GTM market flow that that you shared with me that it's working really well for the clients. So walk us through that. So what was the problem you were trying to solve for that specific client, and what this automation does for them?
So the company name was Pabao, and they are selling, I would say, a booking system to dental clinics. So the problem they were having was in their outreach, they were getting lots of replies like, "We already have a booking system." So that was the problem they were facing when they came to me. Yes, there were loads of inbound, but the outbound problem was there was no context in the cold outreach. So uh, they presented me with how they want to automate this at scale and how they want to get the right context in their emails. And this is what we solved in the initial MVP test. And that's how we got the demos booked.
Okay, so I want to back up for a second because you were saying that their outreach attempts were getting a lot of replies where the lead had, or prospect, depending on what word you want to use, they already had a solution. So it wasn't really a good fit because those clients were probably happy with whatever they were using. But what was the method for getting the leads for the outreach?
So they were just scraping Apollo database at first. They were not targeting, I would say, specific ICP. They just wanted to get dental clinics, and most of them didn't have a website. So imagine a clinic that doesn't even have a website. They can't even think about a booking system because they are digitally, I would say, 5 years behind. So there was no targeted approach in that sense. So if you are selling someone a booking system and they don't even qualify for that, we are just wasting our resources. That's what we tried to refine, that what specific type of clientele we want to target and how our current clientele has a presence, e.g. in Google Maps, because that's what we use as a signal. Uh, uh, so I would say the basic filter was, yes, they have to have a website. Second, have 50 reviews at least. Then we are going to target you. Otherwise, we're just wasting our resources.
I see. Maybe at a like high level, like, or just like 10,000 foot view, what was the process before you built this system? And then what was the system? What did it look like after? Like tell me the starting point and then tell me the outcome afterwards of like what your automation does.
So before this automation, they were exporting CSVs. They were not keeping any record of how many people they have actually targeted, whether a person has replied or not. They didn't have any track of that. So there was a lot of manual work involved. This is why they wanted to automate everything from lead scraping, from enrichment, and then they wanted to have consistent data to study what we are actually doing, how many opens we are getting, and if an MVP works, then we can double down on that approach. Before that, it was not the case. They had the resources, they were spending a lot of money on tools, but they didn't have this automated way of doing it. This is why they didn't. I would say the earliest problem they were facing was lead volume. Um, they didn't know how to automate that, so
I
that's
see.
how we built it.
So
And what
it
my
was like,
automation Yeah.
oh,
So
go ahead.
what the automation does is, yes, we started this contract from just automating their scraping. Yes. But what's the next step, right? We just get, for example, 10,000 leads have been scraped. What now? So we have to have a process in place to be making sure that it's worth their time. And we automated that to do a certain task in a very efficient manner. So that's how we just kept on refining our process. And I can walk you through that again if you want.
No, I think that makes sense. Uh, so essentially, you're scraping leads. Before, the client was just scraping everything that they could, and then they would just send the outreach attempts like just sheer brute force and just a pure numbers game. But your solution it takes it a step further, so it grabs all of it still grabs a big list, but then you refine that list, and then now you're trying to qualify for like the ideal customer profile. So you mentioned Google
Yeah.
Maps, whether or not they have a website, like what else? So beyond like just finding the list and then like pre-qualifying them, then what happens?
So then the other step is that they weren't even aware that they had a problem with was too many duplicates. So their clear tables were full of duplicates, people that have already said no, people that are in their existing clientele. They were even reaching them as a cold outbound email. So
Oh wow.
one of them one of them replied saying, "I'm your customer," and that was shocking. So they had no track.
Oh
So
wow.
what we did was create a deduplication logic one from the entire HubSpot database, even if it's a lost deal, even if it's a win, even if it's a demo booked, all of that goes in uh, after the scrape. And then there's a second dedupe check inside Clay. So once the lead data has been passed towards Clay, for example, run on Monday, we did a week one, we did a scrape, and those leads are into Clay. So we want to make sure those leads are not scraped again. So there's a second dedupe check as well to make sure that we are scraping the right people and we are not enriching the people that we have already enriched, because it takes credits. Clay is expensive, and we want to use that in enrichments rather than uh, targeting multiple people at the same. I would say same people at multiple attempts. So this is how the dedupe logic was kept in place. Once that was checked and leads were passed on to Clay, then we made a Clayagent. What is a Clayagent is basically an AI agent working inside Clay. Um, what it does is it's a HTTP request. It's a web scraper, I would say. Goes onto the website, checks for the relevant context that we gave. In this case, we wanted to check what the booking system is of, of that particular clinic. And then it gave out the name of that booking system. And then we used to route it towards two campaigns. Campaign A was booking system, yes. So, for example, they were using Forest as a booking system. 85%, I would say, clientele in UK uses Forest, but it's so bad in terms of UI even,
Mhm.
and it's so messy. Uh, because I book football pitches using Forest, and I know how messy it is. So we use that context in the email. Hey, I saw you were using Forest, and then we add our value in, and then we book a demo. And then the other copy was there was no booking system, and then we told them what a booking system would solve how their problems will be solved if they get a booking system. So this is how we made two logic gates, and that's how we completed our MVP.
Wow. Let me repeat this back to you to make sure I understood. So you're scraping leads, you're qualifying them for the ideal customer profile. Then in your Clayagent, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Your Clayagent, it will go beyond that. It'll actually look at the tools on their website and see what they're using. If there's a footprint of that they're using some booking system, you have messaging that is tailored to people with a known booking system. And I'm sure there are more than ones, like you talked about
Yes.
Forest, right? And then there's probably more.
Yeah.
And then there's the track where there's no booking system. And
Yeah.
now you have to educate that lead on how they're missing out on like having better efficiency or just being more like just being proficient at like doing bookings. So now that's when your client can come in and offer a solution. But
Yeah.
so now you have different ways of marketing to people. So it's like your client versus some other solution and why your client is better. And then you have well, you're not using anything, so let me show you what the best of the
Yeah.
best do and how your life will be much easier. So that's amazing. That makes a lot of sense. So how did that signal change that like just the process? So like there was a metric you shared about testing 200 emails and got 2 meetings. Like what like tell me more about that. Like what was, I assume that it wasn't as efficient before, but that is after the automation was introduced. So talk through like that win and what it meant for you.
So their product, I would say this outright, their product is fantastic. The reason being, and their website is absolutely phenomenal in a way that any person that goes onto the website knows what they're getting. Uh, they have a chatbot in place that you can ask anything and it will give you relevant answers. They can also connect you to a human being after a certain level of communication. So their product is really good. And they were getting a lot of inbound sales, but what they wanted to do was, of course, expand their business, uh, and they wanted to do it via cold outreach. They spend a lot of money on the infrastructure, 120 inboxes, Clay, Pro Plan, everything was in place. But despite having everything, they were doing so many things manually, which didn't make sense in their POV as well. That why are we spending that much if we are just going to do things manually, right? So this system gave them a measurable metric. B, it solved, I would say this process can be understood by someone that joins from day one because they know what's happening. A to Z flow. The entire flow is very easy to understand now. It's not messy. It's not going anywhere. There's no duplications. And CRM is clean now. And I would there's another automation attached to it is when there's a reply coming from Smart Lead, uh, the AI will analyze that reply, and if it's qualified enough, I would say, because you cannot there are predetermined filters inside Smart Lead, such as interested, not interested, but sometimes it doesn't detect correctly.
Mhm.
So we made sure that there's an AI layer on top of it that reads the entire email and then qualifies it that if an human intervention is involved. And how it's done is it auto creates a contact inside HubSpot, and then HubSpot informs the Slack channel, and then a person goes to that.
And interesting. So you have, when managing replies from your outreach attempts, you have multiple layers. So layer 1 is, you said Smart Lead, right? For that's just the infrastructure, or it's the tool to just send email.
Yes.
Obviously, once you land in the inbox, if you actually hook somebody and they reply and they're interested, somebody has to watch for those replies, but in this case, you're using Smart Leads reply detection, and it'll flag those emails or those replies, and then trigger another automation to then put it into HubSpot. But occasionally Smart Lead doesn't work, right? Like sometimes you get replies and it mislabels the email. So you have a layer on top of that that watches everything that comes through and reanalyzes the email to make sure nothing slipped through the cracks. Is that
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And but with those two layers, you're then triggering flows or automations that put things into HubSpot, and then now a person on the sales team will take over and engage and book demos and things like that. Have you worked on, is anything in the works where you could actually like have the AI push it a step further and actually engage with the lead to get them to book an appointment, or is it always going to be a person?
That's the next step. That's the next step because
awesome.
you got it spot on, because that was only 200 emails. We didn't need an AI, but if you're doing, I would say 10,000 a week, the amount of replies coming through would be too much for a person to handle. So there's an AI replying agent on top of it that we are working on. And once that's deployed, only, I would say, demo booked contact will be created in HubSpot, and then a person can just walk through the demo. And I think they are also considering even going a step further, that a human doesn't have to give a demo, and AI can give a demo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just step further. If you're it's just an example. If we do the fundamentals right, it's good problems to solve, and then you can scale. They don't have to worry about manually putting leads every time, and those days are done for them, especially. So new problems ahead.
That's awesome. Well, I have one more question for you. One more question for you, Moeed. Like for anybody that watches this, where should they start if they wanted to build something similar?
I think it depends on what problem they're trying to solve. Some people don't have a lead problem, they have email copy problem. Some people have enrichment problem. I would say explore Clay. It's fairly easy to understand in every possible way. Their own resources help you a lot. And just make sure that you're not automating stuff just for the sake of automating it. Making sure that it solves an actual problem. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, if someone wants to learn more about GTM automations or has questions, they can just drop a comment or reach out.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Moeed.
No problem. Thanks, Chris.